Hello everyone and welcome back to Bitwig Studio and Music Production. This is lesson 5.07, and in this lesson we're going to take a look at the E-tom instrument. Now I'm hesitant to even show you the E-tom because it's basically the exact same thing as the E-kick, but to make sure that this course is very thorough, I'm going to show it to you anyway, explain the differences between the two, which again are very slight, talk about maybe some future improvements they might be making to this device, and then actually show you how you could use this to potentially add a little bit more bite to just a classic acoustic sample of a tom drum. So let's jump in there and get to work. So here's the E-kick, and here are the settings I have dialed in. I'm going to play this real quick for you so you can hear it. Okay, that's quite low. So hopefully you can hear that. If you can't, I'm going to pull the tuning up here. Let's go to, I don't know, let's try to hit 70 right on the nose. All right, let's take a listen. And let's see, where are we peaking out at? 4.8. Okay, I'm going to go into the E-tom. I have all the rest of the settings identical. I'm just going to change this tuning to 70 again. And now we can solo this one out and listen to it. So my E-kick is peaking at 4.8. I need to get my tom there. Okay, close enough for me. So you can hear that these are very similar. The E-kick has a little bit more body, which is just basically in the sounds that are being generated and coming out of this particular instrument. And that's actually going to be very helpful for us when it comes to layering. But for now, we can look at these two different devices and see that almost everything is identical. The only real difference here, apart from that slight emphasis in like body, and this is one time you can really hear the difference just when you're listening to that low end. But if I pull the E-tom, if I pull this tuning like way down 46.2, and I go to the kick and I try to go to 46.2, they're going to sound like even closer together here. Right, so very, very close. With the E-kick, I can tune all the way down to 34.6 hertz and up to 82.4. Inside of the E-tom, my tuning has a slightly different range from 46.2 up to 466. So that's where the big difference is. Tom drums, of course, very famously are tuned percussive instruments. You will usually have a low tom, a mid tom, a high tom. If you've heard like tom rolls and tom solos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Bitwig clearly realized that their E-kick, the designing, the programming they did for this could easily be translated to the E-tom. And I kind of get the feeling like they did this almost last minute. If we go into the E-kick, we have all of these different presets. If we go into the E-tom, we have absolutely zero presets. And they also try to make this seem even a little bit more different by calling this the pitch mod. With the E-tom, we have a pitch envelope generator, but these are exactly the same. So this can be shaped exactly the same. The decay is going to go from 10 milliseconds up to 10 seconds, and the amount will go from 0 up to 100. All right, and on the E-kick, those are exactly identical. So why make an E-tom device? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, if you want to do some layering of like an acoustic tom and something more synthetic, you can use this and it can add a lot of body, which is what we're going to do in a minute. I also have a feeling that with future updates, they're going to probably add some physical modeling capabilities into some of these instruments. Like the E-tom, you'd be able to choose different drum skins, tightness of the skin, whether it's a mallet, a brush, you know, what's actually striking the tom drum, which will give you a lot more of a timbral variance as time goes on. But for right now, obviously it's very simple. I can try to get in a tom drum for you here. We'll see what I can come up with. We'll just do it quick. It's not very good, is it? Okay, Okay, so I'm pretty happy with a tom drum that sounds like that. That's somewhat realistic. It's not great, obviously, but where this might actually shine is in doing a little bit of drum layering. We haven't talked about drum layering. I honestly don't work with drums that often, but I'll show you guys how you can maybe go about doing something like that. So we'll look inside our sample library here. I'm going to search for tom. All right, so I'll pull that in here. Let's take a quick listen to that. Okay, so first of all, we can hear that it's panned pretty hard to the left. So just to try to match that, I'll take my E tom. I'm going to pan that off to the left a ways. I'm going to go in here. Just put in any random note, doesn't matter for right now. And if we listen to these two back at this point, they're going to probably sound pretty out of tune from one another. Let's take a listen. Yeah, you're even hearing a beating effect. And the attacks aren't really meshing all that well. So let's try to figure out a way that we could maybe just add some body to this. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into my handy dandy plugins. I'm going to grab the span. I'm going to drop it here. Solo this guy out. Hold that up. Let's see. Where are we at? We are approximately at... Let's see. Okay, so we're almost right at that C#3. I can zoom it in even more if I want to get more precise. We're at approximately 140 hertz. Okay, so half of 140 is 70. So that should work well. Remember, if we have things that are a little bit closer in ratio, they usually will sound a little bit more consonant. So I'm going to actually use my E tom here and dial in something at 70. Why would I do this as opposed to using the kick, the E kick? The reason is because this doesn't have quite as much body. So if I'm playing this tom drum and there's also a kick drum thumping away in the background, it's not going to have as big of an effect, right? It's not going to be canceling out as much at that region. So let's see if I can get something to sound good first here. For starters, I really want to get rid of any clicking. I'm going to actually pan it even a little further. Okay, so now let's listen to these two together. Maybe I can add some additional decay here. Okay, obviously here with this sample, there's like a tiny bit of a delay before the attack comes in. So I'm actually just going to zoom right in and trim that back a little bit. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a transient control to both of these. Obviously, if we were going to go a step further, we'd also add EQ and do a lot of other things to try to get these to fit better. But for now, we're just going to make this a little bit quick. And let's see. Maybe I want to emphasize the attack on this guy. Really bring that down. Emphasize the sustain a little bit. There's that clicking noise happening somewhere, and it's driving me nuts. Let's go to raw. we can see that these envelopes are just not matching up right, which is driving me nuts. But apart from that, I'm pretty happy with this. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it for right now, but I did this earlier and I actually was able to get a really good additional layer on there. So for right now, let's just pretend like it's all matching up really well. This is part of the issue whenever you're working on anything, is that there are times when things just don't fit together. Like right now, this just isn't fitting for whatever reason. It should be, but it's not. And if I mute this out, we'll listen to the difference here. And obviously you can hear a big difference there. But even if it's just subtle, maybe a little more. Oh, you know why we're getting that click? That might have solved it. Okay, so that's just one quick example of how you might consider layering up a tom drum. Nothing fancy. We did that pretty quick. We could obviously go steps further, add some EQ, maybe add a little bit of distortion to the E-tom here, give it a little bit more of a wider, fill up that frequency spectrum a bit. But other than that, that's going to do it for this lesson on the E-tom. Thank you so much for watching, and you'll hear from me again in the next lesson. Take care.